Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Shannon. This is Made by Boo and I've got quite a few things to talk about today, including 3 finished objects, a half partial, a not quite finished object but sort of finished object, and 4 works in progress over there. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right in with the one on top. This is the only finished object that is knitting. So there's that. Oh, sorry. So these are a pair of socks I made for my child. They are from the August 2024 Yarnable. The theme was neon graffiti, and they are just a small pair of vanilla, kind of shorty. They are for a small child, so they're not the shortest of shorties, but I did 1x1 rib, little leg, heel flap and gusset, rounded toe, like no real fancy details on these. They were mostly just using up some of the leftovers from, see if I can show these, the socks I'm currently wearing. My littlest is just starting to kind of like when I make her socks, so it has been a little fun to make myself a pair and then make her a pair that coordinate from the matching socks, or from the matching yarn, and she seems to really enjoy that so far. I've only done it a couple of times, so it's not like she has a whole bunch of pairs, but as she's just starting to wear them, it's like, okay, if you're going to wear them, I'll make them. If you're not going to wear them, I'm not going to make them. So the next finished object I have is a spinning project, and I have 2 hanks of yarn. So this was, I haven't gotten it in a little while, but at one point I did have a subscription to Paradise Fibers Fiber of the Month Club. I don't remember exactly when I stopped getting it. We had a little while there where I feel like our cards were getting hacked a lot. Luckily, that hasn't happened in a little while. Hopefully it continues to not happen. But somewhere in all of that, where it was canceling cards, I think the subscription lapsed and I didn't notice right away. But I have so much fiber right now. And then they did go through a bit of a rough time where I don't think they were doing their Fiber of the Month Club. I don't know if they're back to doing it or not. But anyways, long story short, a long time ago I used to get it. And this was part of one of the Fiber of the Months where it was a white fiber, and then they sent you some magenta, cyan, and yellow dye, as well as a black dye. And you were supposed to do the bright colors and then kind of dye the black over it. So I did some with some fiber, and then I actually had enough where I also did just a skein of yarn, and that way I could have kind of the 2 to compare. And I finally got it spun up. I did a fractal spin with the braid that I had, where I did half in one spin and then the other half was divided in half again, and then 1, 2. So it was 50%, 25, 25. And then the 2 were plied back on each other. And I feel like it has kind of this vague oil spill look to it, where the colors are very, very muted, maybe a little galaxy-ish. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. That is typically my fiber problem, but we will get more into that later. But yeah, I do really like how it turned out. I just have no idea what I'm going to do with it. So the last finished object I have has nothing to do with yarn at all. And that is this little flower plant stand that I painted. So a little while ago, in June, we visited my family, and because we were all together, we did like a gift exchange, so we could do kind of like white elephant, things like that. And what I ended up getting was this unpainted flower stand and some paints. And when I started, I thought I remembered it had 5 petals on it, and so I was going to do brown and green and make the top look a little bit like a cherry blossom, which this is not the shape of a cherry blossom, but it was one of those where it's like 5 petals, I can do that. And then I started painting it, and I'm like, this is 9 petals. This is not 5 petals, this is 9 petals. This does not easily turn into 5 petals. Huh. But I had already just gone ahead and started on the like twig and leaf kind of look. So I just turned it into a dark black and blue flower and decided it doesn't really matter if it's not a real kind of flower. It doesn't matter if I don't know what kind of flower this would be closest to. I liked it, and I mean, it's a plant stand. Something's going to sit on top of it. Possibly a bowl of yarn. I don't know. But I finished it. I had it outside, sealing it with like a spray sealant to help protect it before I use it for something yesterday, and now it's completely done. Before I painted it, it was sitting in my craft area, just holding a bowl of yarn scraps that were waiting for me to like weigh and sort them into different categories. And it may end up going just right back directly there. I don't know. But it is a finished object, and it is something that is handmade that will be in my house somewhere. So my, I guess, partially finished object is a spool of hand spun. It is just a single ply. I do actually technically have another spool that is plied together, but I just finished plying it this morning. So I figured I would show that later after I get it off the spool, where I could show the completed yarn a little bit better. But this is just a single ply, and if you're looking at those colors, you're probably going, huh, that is, what? So this is kind of going back to what I was starting to say about the old Fiber of the Month subscription I used to do. So this, I started doing this years and years and years ago. I think I did that Fiber of the Month for 3 or 4 years at least. And I loved doing it because I really do love to spin, but I almost never use my hand spun. And the Fiber of the Month was really great because I would get lots of different colors, different fiber contents. Sometimes it would be like white, and they'd send you something that's supposed to teach you about natural dyeing, maybe something that's teaching you about mixing dyeing. One time it was like a silk, and it was for ice dyeing. And other times it was just fun colorways that were themed after something. I would get a stitch marker all the time. That's where most of my Progress Keepers have come from. I have purchased some as well, but a lot of my collection came from them. And it's a lot of fun because like some of these, I want to say this light gray and this darkish brown gray were both kind of from like wool studies, where it's like, hey, this is a breed of sheep, and they're sending you something that's a much more natural color and fiber feel for a specific breed of sheep. I got a whole bunch of plant fibers through them. It was a lot of fun, and one day I may want to do it again. But I hadn't been spinning as much, and then on top of that, I have a collection of hand-spun yarn that I do not normally use. And it's all like single hanks, maybe 2. And I mean, it might be great for doing like gloves, hats, slippers, but I don't wear hats very often or gloves. And I probably should use it to make like some little shorty house socks or slippers or something like that. But also, I just had like this thought with my hand spun yarn that wouldn't be comfortable, or it wouldn't be warm enough, or maybe it would be too fragile. So, I mean, I end up with it just sitting there, building up and doing nothing. So what I decided to do is take a lot of those little bits where they're not enough to spin and turn into a project on their own, and basically turn it into a scrappy project. So this is the first spool of it. You can only see some of the colors. There's some orange, green, blue, a lot of gray, a little bit of like this, it's definitely a very natural sheepy color where it's like a super, super dark brown. And I have got so many different colors, so many different everything, and I'm going to do these scrappy spools where I do a little bit at a time, and I'm going to do a bunch of them, and I'm going to ply, like this one's got a lot of this pale gray on it, so I will probably ply it with one that comes out with a lot more darker shades, so that the lighter shades and the darker shades are plied together to make kind of a medium marled yarn. And the goal is to use a whole bunch of this stuff in this big scrappy yarn that I can later turn into a sweater. So this is a long-term project. This is literally the first spool I completed. And I probably could have fit some more yarn on one spool, but it was starting to hit to that point where like it seemed to get a little weird going on. So I'm like, it's fine. Finish a spool and keep going. So that's why this is like, it's sort of finished because it's a finished spool, but this is going to be a long-term scrappy fiber project. And I'm working to get rid of a lot, well, I shouldn't say get rid of, work through a lot of the fiber that I just haven't gotten around to. And again, things that once I spend them, they're not really enough to make anything out of. And trying to get them turned into something. And I'm really excited about it, but also I'm definitely still early enough in it where it's like, trust the process. It will look good. Scrappy, I do like the look of scrappy projects, but I'm really in the trust the process phase right now. So, speaking of my hand spun and how I like never use it, I have my hand spun project. So, this is some hand spun yarn that I did a while ago, and I am currently working on making a G Street sweater from the Little Wolf Knits. When I showed it last time, I was on the back panel and I was that far. So I just barely started it last time we spoke, and now I did the back panel, the front, joined it, and then as soon as the second cake of yarn ran out, because unfortunately the front panel and the back panel were each a cake of my hand spun yarn, I started on the sleeve. This is actually my second go at this sleeve because I got almost to the end of the sleeve and then realized that I had missed some decreases earlier in the sleeve and I didn't like how it was going to look without them, so I pulled back to, I don't know, probably somewhere around there. And I think I had another 2 or 3 inches, so I have not quite recovered what I had done. I had wanted to be farther on this, but between having to pull out the sleeve and I don't know if I'm the only one that ever gets this, but it's almost like when I'm knitting wrong or too much, it almost feels like I'm getting, like my finger splits along like fingerprint lines. And so it's like, okay, well, if something's happening, I need to stop knitting for a little while, or at least stop knitting on the projects that are irritating it, because I think I tend to like push the needle with my finger. And if I'm doing this, it just keeps poking at it. And yeah, so I ended up having to set it down for a week and have to pull the sleeve out. So I was hoping to be farther. But the current plan is to finish both sleeves and the neckline and then work on the body again. And part of why I am doing that is because I don't think I actually have enough yarn of this hand spun to make it like I wanted to. I don't know how this keeps happening to me. With the yarn that I am working on now with the intention of it being a sweatshirt, I am probably going to not consider it enough until I have like 10 or more hanks of yarn, because this is the second project this year that I have started with my hand spun yarn and it does not seem to be enough. I am apparently really, really bad at figuring out how much is enough hand spun yarn. So I had a couple of options, of course. This is supposed to be a like crew neck sweatshirt, full length. And I weighed my yarn and all of that, and it should have been enough. Just sitting here kind of like, I've got a bit more on the sleeve and then a whole nother sleeve to go. So I have some time to think about it. But my current thought, because I had the thought of if I could get each sleeve with 1 cake of yarn, then I can still put some length on this. I'm already on the second cake of yarn. I think it's going to take me like 1.5 each. So what I have left is I have this, which is the second cake of yarn. All this wound around is what I had already worked in. I have this slightly darker one that I'm going to use with the collar, and I want to use it at the bottom. And then I have these two. So my hope is that I can get the second sleeve done with these. I don't know if I can or not, but I'm going to try to get the second sleeve done, the 2 sleeves completed using only this, get the collar done, and then use this for like a row or 2 at the bottom, and then have this available just to add a little length. This is not going to be a full length sweater anymore. This is now going to be somewhere between a shrug and a crop. And I don't know how much I'm going to actually end up liking it, because it is very, very thick, very, very squishy. I weighed, I measured, I everythinged the yarn, and it should have been enough. But apparently, when it comes to hand spun, for me personally, I need to, like, if it's 100 grams, I need to do 150. And just do like the 150% of what it says versus it says you need 3. 3 is what you need. For me, if it's saying I need 300, I need to do like 450. And just always make sure I have that extra amount, because for some reason, I do not get my calculations right with hand spun yarn. But I think it's still going to be cute. It's just one of those, it's so thick. I've been thinking about this for a couple of months, and I really, really wanted it to be this nice, full, cozy sweater. All these greens. It was several different shades of green that I blended together with little bits of sari silk, so that there's all these cute little bits in there. And honestly, there was this part of me that's like, this is actually even going to be a really cute Christmas time sweater, because it'll look like a Christmas tree with little flecks of lights or something, and it'd be so great. And it still can be. It's just, I'm worried that it's going to be too thick and warm to make a good shrug. But also, like, it's going to be. I'm still going to finish it, because it can still be something wearable with the amount I have. And I am determined that I said I was going to do a hand-spun project this year, so I am going to do a hand-spun project this year. And I am just hoping I end up liking it when it's done as much as I was going to when it was going to be a full-length sweater. But there's nothing I can do to guarantee whether or not I like it, and I'm just going to have to keep kind of blindly going forward and hoping at this point. I know that sounds a little insane, but also I love spinning, but sometimes I think the problem has been that I don't spin intentionally. I spin what I have. I don't spin it to a certain weight. I don't spin to a certain amount. And that has clearly been an issue, so it's something I'm going to have to fix long term. In a much simpler project, I do have another work in progress right here. So this is using yarn from Evergreen Yarn Studio. I actually don't have a lot of labels right now because of how much I have that's just labelless. It's so funny. This is in the color 90s Kid. It is on their Pacific Sock base. So it's a 100% extra fine merino. So this is not superwash anything. And I am doing a Musselburgh hat. When I showed it to you 2 weeks ago, I had just done the increases at the crown. So I've got that stitch marker telling me where the crown is, and that's also where we were last time. I got quite a bit done, because this has been my mobile project. Once I finished those socks that are for my daughter, this has been what I've been traveling with. We went to see a movie. I've taken it to and to gymnastics. It hangs out in my car most of the time. And yeah, this one is going to be for me. I don't wear a lot of hats. I don't know why I'm bothering to try to make myself a hat again. But this is a single ply, and it's so soft. And I mean, it is called the Pacific Sock Base, but it's not superwash. And with the single ply, I just felt like I would rip up these socks. So, oh wait, is it superwash? Yeah, I literally said extra fine superwash merino. Wow. But with it being a one ply, I felt, and no nylon, I felt like it being socks that I would rip through it. But I feel like I have a shot of it staying a little nicer as a hat, as I don't wear hats that often. So it might be a little bit weird reasoning, but I love the colors. I'm just going through and enjoying the process, and I have a massive fear that this is going to be a really cold winter here in Idaho, so I might end up wearing this hat a little bit more than I originally intended to. Alright, so I have 2 more projects to talk about. We'll talk about the one on top first. Oh, I just smacked myself in the face with this. Wow. We'll talk about the one on top first. So these are 2 of my long-term projects. When the year started, these are both advent calendars. And the goal was to do 2 colors on each of them every month, so that at the end of the month, or end of the year, I would have the products finished. And then I started getting impatient, and then I got even more impatient, and they've both gotten a decent amount of progress in the last little bit. So this is the first one. This is the Anthology Throw by... I am not confident enough in the designer to actually say it right now. I will link the pattern below. But the yarn is by Ruby and Roses. And it is really hard to show it well because this is a circular throw. Looking here, you can see I was at this blue color the last time I showed it. I think that might have been at the beginning-ish of July because I did a few colors while I was at my brother's house. At one point, I did fall behind on this. I think I'm actually ahead now, but I completed this blue, pink, and then I am actually on what is the edging parts. And according to the pattern, on this edge part, I should have like 5 colors left. Well, I'm on my 3rd color there, and I have 2 colors in here and another 4 colors. So I'm kind of trusting the process and trusting that if I expand how much I have here in these outer ones to get an extra 3 colors in, it'll be fine. I have seen that people have made these with like 31-day calendars and theirs turned out fine, and I don't know if they just calculated out the rows to divide it by 31 or if they just kept going at some point. So I could not find any information on anything like that, and I'm kind of going on blind stupidity at this point. So when I started this, I had seen other people make it, of course, because, you know, the internet. And I was just using up all of every color because what I had seen is that people would stop when the pattern said that the colors changed, and then eventually they would kind of catch up. And it would no longer be, like, they were no longer able to make it to when the colors were supposed to change. So it was one of those things where it's like, just use up all of every color. You'll get the best use out of all of these colors because you'll have so much of each of them. And I mean, these are gorgeous. I love these colors. This is so pretty. But the problem that I had is I never ran out of yarn before it said I should have. And instead, I just stayed ahead of where it was so that I am now to the point where I am going to have 3 extra colors to put into this blanket. So I still figured, oh, well, maybe I'll end up running into where I should have switched colors more here. Nope. I just somehow, and these are just 20 gram from an advent calendar. It's not like I had an extra big advent calendar or anything like that. It was just a normal advent calendar. But for some reason, I never ran out like it said other people did. And here we are. So I still have a little ways to go. I have 6 colors left, which, as this is August, I've already completed 3 colors for August, so if I did 2 in September, October, November, I would finish before December starts, which is actually kind of ideal, because then I have this advent calendar completely done before December starts, when I have ordered 2 pairs of advent socks to work on again. So it's not like I wouldn't be able to get my other 2 colors done, but it's nice that if I stay at a pace like this, that I will. I have worked on it a little bit extra. I'm probably going to ease back on it just a little bit again while I work on my shrug and while I work on this other project. So this is another one of my year-long ones. So that one was the Anthology using Ruby and Roses. This is the Yorkshire Crochet Along. And the yarn that I am using for the Advent was from FanGirl Fibers. It was their Haunted Holidays Advent. Oh, both of these Advents are from 2024. And then my joining color is Cascade Heritage. I don't remember what this kind of tan color was called. They only put color numbers on labels. And I'm not even 100% sure this is the correct label. So I have finished all of the squares and I have started joining them. When my finger was hurting, it made crochet a lot easier because I didn't have like the nice sharp needle. This is the hook I've been using for this whole project. It is a Furrows Crochet from their Candy Shop line. They no longer make these, and each size was a different color, and I genuinely do not remember what color or what size blue was. And since they no longer make them, it's actually really hard to look up. However, I do use this frequently to crochet with fingering weight yarns, so since I've used it before, I just grabbed it for this project. I have no idea if it was the correct size hook or not. So I started joining, and I have a little stitch marker in my first square just so I can make sure it all stays correct. And I have gotten through the first row and 5 squares into row 2. I really wanted to get that last square joined before filming today, but it got to the point where it was like, I can't stay up extra late. I can't delay filming just to get that one more square in. I will get it done today, but so yeah, the squares are almost halfway joined, and I had gotten 7 skeins of yarn to do the joining because I had read somewhere that somebody used like 5 or 6, and it was like, well, if I get 7, I've got that buffer, and then if I end up with extra like 1.5, that's enough to do something with. This is still my first skein, and I'm almost halfway through joining, so I might be able to get through 2.5 to 3 rows of joining with my first skein. And unless a whole bunch of yarn is eaten up in the rest of the border, which it might be because I'm looking at this and this does not feel wide enough, even being like halfway. So I'm assuming a couple more rows around, but I don't really remember. But yeah, unless a whole bunch of yarn is eaten up in the border, I am not going to use all 7 of those. So I may have over-purchased that, but we shall see. But yeah, I'm getting the joining done. This is one that I started to get impatient on first, because I was just going to do 2 squares a month. There's 12 different patterns to the Yorkshire Crochet Along blanket. So it's like I could do 1 pattern every month, 2 colors, and then by the end of the year I will have a blanket. The same with the Anthology. But then a couple months in, that was when I stopped and thought, but I won't have a blanket at the end of the year because December will roll around and I will have all my squares done, and then I will still have to join them all in the next year. And I wanted these to be completely done. I wanted all my advent calendars from last year to be completely finished by the end of this year when I have new advent calendars. I'm not sure that I will be able to do every single year I complete all of my advent calendars, but it just felt like a good goal to have. I did get quite a few advent calendars last year, which if you were around Christmas, you knew I was opening 7, including one 12-day and a Missouri Star sewing one. Not all of them were purchased by me, however, most of them were. There was one that was a gift. The rest were just all me getting overly excited and loving all the themes, and I'm going to be almost as bad this year, let's be real. But because I had gotten so many, I did not want them to just sit there unused. So I made the goal. I may make a similar goal next year, we shall see, but long ramble, getting to the point, I wanted them to be done, and if I still had to join the squares, it's not done. And then I might be like, well, I have new advent calendars to think of, and then this pile of squares goes undone. So I calculated it out that if I did 3 squares a month, I would be done with all of the squares by August, and then I would have 3 months to put it all together or 4 months to put it all together before the end of the year. And there was a little while I wasn't sure I was going to make it. Some of those squares were a little complicated. I know there's people who love the pattern and will make it more than once. I'm not sure I will ever make it again because I'm just not that into that complex of crochet pattern following. Who knows? It's not a bad or difficult pattern. I tend to like the simpler projects. But I did manage to catch up recently, as you can see, and now I'm joining them all. And the joining is going so quickly. So my current thought is to finish up this joining and then go back to working on this anthology and just knock those 2 out. They are the last 2 Advents that I have not worked with it yet this year. I do have remnants of others. A lot of that is just going into the scrap piles. But I'm so proud because it's like, if I can knock these out, I will not only have used all of my Advent calendars before the end of the year, I will have used all of my Advent calendars before Advent season comes back around. I won't have anything lingering once I start opening new yarns. Now, I'm not sure if I can make it before this. I did get a Halloween Advent calendar this year as well. So there is that small part of me that's like, if I can finish one or both of these before October 1st, I would really start Advent season over again with no old Advents. Well, no 2024 Advents. We do still have the Advent from 2023 that I don't really talk about. I'm starting to get a plan for it. But that's the Advent we don't talk about. So it's fine. All the 2024 Advents will be done. So yeah, I do have that vague thought of that would be really cool if I could do that. But I just have not quite committed to having the only thing I work on be Advent projects. All right, so that is all of the making that I have to talk about. So if you are only here for the making contact, thank you for staying. Have a wonderful day. If you want to hear anything else, I will ramble on for just a little longer. So it has been 2 weeks. Semi-eventful, I guess. There was back to school time for my kids. My oldest is a senior in college, my middle is a senior in high school, and my youngest is in 2nd grade. So varying levels of excitement with the school year starting over again. I, of course, am at work. Nothing really changes there. Even when there's big changes, it is what it is. We did do a few fun things here and there. They did do a screening of the Ninja Turtles movie from 1990, and so we took my 7-year-old to go see that in the movie theater, and she did not know much about the Ninja Turtles, so that was kind of fun for her to watch that and learn about it. We have been weirdly making extra trips to McDonald's lately because my oldest loves Hello Kitty and Ninja Turtles, so they're Hello Kitty Ninja Turtles toys right now. Right up her alley. There's a few of them she wants to get, so we've made a couple of extra trips. I say a couple of extra trips. We, never go to McDonald's, so going there at all is extra trips. It's not that we hate McDonald's, it's just, I can't eat gluten. My husband's, he's not a huge fan. He used to like it more, but not as much anymore. And then even my oldest, who wants the Happy Meal toys, doesn't really eat from McDonald's. So it's like we're going for 2 out of 5 people. So we go occasionally, but it's usually if we go out at somewhere else. But we've made a couple of trips to go and get those toys. And of course, now that my youngest knows a little bit about who Ninja Turtles are, she's excited to get something related to the Ninja Turtles, even if she's still referring to them by the purple one, the blue one, the red one, and the orange one. And then work. So that was last weekend. Worked all week. On Friday, I went with some people to work to float down the Boise River. You go to one park in Boise and you can rent paddle boards and inner tubes and rafts. And there's a few slightly rough parts where you kind of want to hit it just right so you don't fall out or get stuck in trees or anything. It's not dangerous, but it's not super deep. It's not usually super fast through most of it. Sometimes it is actually really shallow. Other times it's a little less shallow. I ended up in an inner tube tied to a girl I work with and her wife, and they'd gone a whole bunch of times, so they helped steer. I should say they helped. They did all of the steering. I was just kind of dead weight on there. And they steered us through everything because they knew exactly what they were doing. And that was a lot of fun. Definitely got a little cold. And then, I think if I ever did it again, I might enjoy a paddleboard or something where I think it just felt really weird to me to not have any control and not be able to help. And I didn't really like the helpless feeling. I'm not used to that. But it was a lot of fun doing that. I would definitely do it again, especially with a group of people who are also enjoying themselves, which is what we were lucky enough to do. Then yesterday I ended up taking my youngest to go by Michael's because I needed to pick up some sealant for that flower. And we picked up a couple of Halloween things. I didn't go crazy. I didn't buy any yarn or anything. I was kind of hoping they'd have like the gigantic Karen birthday cakes, but I don't need one. I still have one from like 2 years ago I haven't used. So whenever they come out again, I both want to know and I don't want to know. And then we also went to Bath and Body Works where we could pick up a couple of fall candles. And then after that, it was just kind of hanging out at home, working on my projects and doing your basic life stuff. Laundry, nothing really exciting. I feel like usually when I get to the life section, it's not very exciting, but there is some fun things in the area, so I do try to do them occasionally. So that is all I have for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm going to edit this and get it ready to go up. And I will talk to you guys again in a couple of weeks. Until then, have a very happy making.